Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why LeBron James should take the advice that Shaquille O'Neal just gave you.
And I'm Cowherd, and I'll tell you why I have absolutely no problem with what Phil Mickelson did at the U.S. Open this weekend. Loved it. Speak for yourself on a Monday starts right now.
Oh, so you're a sore loser just like Phil.
I'm a man of passion.
A sore loser just like Phil. All right, hello and welcome. We'll get to Tom Brady's Oprah interview and some shocking World Cup action a little bit later. But let's start at Shinnecock Hills, where Brooks Koepka became the first player to win back-to-back U.S. Opens in almost 30 years. But even that wasn't enough to get people to stop talking about how difficult the course played this week, especially on that brutal Saturday. In fact, a lot of players made a point of sharing their feelings about the conditions, including two-time major winner Zach Johnson on Saturday.
Where is the golf course right now in terms of fairness versus playability? Are we on the edge?
No, we're not on the edge. I thought we could be on the edge, but we've surpassed it. Yeah, it's pretty much gone. Specifically, the latter part of the day for us it's pretty much shot, which is unfortunate because it's, in my opinion, some of the best land and certainly one of the best venues in all of golf, specifically in this country. It's as good as it gets. Shinnecock Hills is beautiful, but unfortunately, they've lost the golf course.
All right, Cowherd, did the course and the controversy about the course overshadow Koepka's victory?
Yeah, because controversy always wins. I mean, look at the NBA Finals. A 30-second reverse call in Game 1, it lasted the rest of the series. I mean, we had the best player, the second best player, a dynasty, and a charge, no charge overshadowed the whole thing. That is the reality of social media, real media. I mean, I remember years ago, Bill Clinton came out with a book, 400 pages. One line in it was all anybody talked about. So, I mean, listen, the course, can you imagine if the Super Bowl third quarter football field's unplayable? It's going to overshadow the game.
I think they called a break. I was right there with you. If Charlie Hoffman had won, but when a guy wins back-to-back U.S. Opens, that's pretty incredible. That's pretty unforgettable. Hasn't happened in 30 years. Brooks Koepka at 28 years old just announced to the world, hey, put me right there with the young guys that have all this hype, from the Rory McIlroys to Jordan Spieth to Jason Day. I'm right there with those guys. I thought they got bailed out by getting a back-to-back winner in Brooks Koepka. That's hard to forget. I do agree with you, though. There was so much animosity and so much controversy about the course. And to me, it's like Sunday, we watched a different tournament than what we had been watching the previous 3 days.
It was clearly a makeup course on Sunday. So essentially, the USGA acknowledged, yeah, we butchered this. It's almost like in the NBA. If they'd have lowered the rims to 9 feet after Game 1, we butchered it. Or, you know, so I just felt there was a stigma on the NBA Finals after Game 1. I felt there was a stigma. Sunday, I thought, okay, now you're just trying to make everybody happy. You don't really care about the integrity of the tournament.
You used the word essentially, but the USGA did just basically come out and say, we messed up on Saturday with our pin placements. They said they couldn't account for the wind, or they underestimated the factor of the wind. But yet to have the USGA come out and admit, man, we got this wrong, and then to see them do a complete reversal. And Sunday, I enjoyed it much more, but it was a completely different golf tournament than what we had seen the previous 3 days.
Agreed. To another guy who wasn't enjoying the course this weekend, Phil Mickelson, after knocking a putt by the hole on number 13, Phil shocked everybody by hitting the ball while it was still moving so it wouldn't roll off the green. Now, after his round, Mickelson tried to explain himself and apologized, sort of.
If somebody's offended by that, I apologize to them, but toughen up, because this is not meant that way. It's just simply I just wanted to get on to the next hole, and I didn't see that happening at the time. I'm gladly take my 2 strokes and move on. How can you not laugh? It's funny. It's it's just part of the U.S. Open. It's just funny, and I don't mean it disrespectful. If you're taking it that way, that's not on me. Sometimes in these situations, it's just easier to take the 2 shots and move on.
Not everybody's buying Phil's story, including Major Champ Steve Elkington, who tweeted, quote, absolutely 100% conduct unbecoming. He's trying to embarrass the UAGA, DQ his ass. Whitlock, is this a ding on Phil's legacy?
I think without question. And again, if you're a hardcore golf fan, I think you'll get where I'm coming from. If you're a very casual fan, it's hard to understand. In golf, there's very few ways to be demonstrably disrespectful and to dishonor the game, because it's such a game of honor and integrity. But to me, this is Mike Tyson biting someone's ear. That's what this was in golf terms, and that's why golf people, I read Ian O'Connor wrote a great piece for ESPN.com where he said, demanded, this was on Saturday night, that Phil withdraw from the tournament. And that's how it landed with golf people. It was as disrespectful, as stupid, as immature as what Mike Tyson did when he was getting his butt kicked by Evander Holyfield and biting his ear. That's what happened with Phil Mickelson. And given Phil's status and stature on the PGA Tour, he's the Arnold Palmer of this generation. It was conduct unbecoming of his place and stature. This is what a hungover John Daly does, not the guy who's the Arnold Palmer of his era.
Well, the words define. No. Does Deflategate define Tom? No, the 8 trips to the Super Bowl. Now, does the Super Bowl define Nick Foles? Yeah, because that's as good as it's going to get.
No. Does it ding Phil's legacy?
This isn't Lance Armstrong, where it ruins everything he's done. This is more Tom Brady. Well, not
Tom Brady
great.
would never disrespect football in this way.
By the way, well, Bill Belichick, cameras, deflating footballs. I mean, I look at sports, I think golf purist gets worked up over a lot of things. But golf purist lectured me for years that you guys overcover Tiger. Oh, really? He leaves, the sport plummets. I don't get too caught up on purists. I mean, I've been in television for 30 years. You can't play to purists. You have to play to casual fans. Guys like me is like, do you think he does this at the Masters on the final hole? No.
He did it at the U.S. Open. This is the Super Bowl for golf here in America.
Okay, he had an 81. He lost by 17 strokes. He was out. He's barely making the cut, Phil Mickelson.
And it's poor sportsmanship.
Maybe.
That's what this is all about.
All right.
And, but listen, did we not beat up Cam Newton after the Super Bowl for not cooperating with the media and acting like a spoiled brat? This is the exact same thing.
By the way, you're right, we did. And then a lot of people pushed back and said, get over it. A lot of people are angry, and a lot of people are pushing back like me, saying it ain't that big. The Cam Newton is very similar and very analogous in that it created this sort of what the hell moment. And this is doing the same, but I think there's arguments on both sides.
Cam Newton's reputation as a competitor and as a guy who can handle adversity was dinged over this.
Yeah.
And it's helped define him as a poor sport. Phil Mickelson's out there, again, his stature as the Arnold Palmer. Other than Tiger Woods, he's been the most important golfer of the last 20 years. He can't act like a spoiled baby at the U.S. Open. He can do it at the Phoenix Open. He can do it at the Memorial. He can do it at the Poulon Weed Eater golf tournament. Okay. But the U.S. Open?
Okay, at the U.S. Open, it is U.S. fans. They cheered him on Sunday. By the way,
that's a bunch of casual, they were disappointed they couldn't take pictures of Tiger.
By the way, he's the most popular golfer in America, not named Tiger Woods, among the casual fans. Don't they have a say in his legacy?
They do. Phil Mickelson made a fool of himself. He did something that, again, the great players, the Jack Nicklauses, the Tom Watsons, the Curtis Strangers, the Hale Irwins, they're looking at this like they've lost some respect for Phil.
By the way, that's okay, but Tiger swore through clubs.
And made everybody a bunch of money.
Okay, well, again, money doesn't equal respect. A lot of people said Tiger was on something because he looked like Ed Reed in the defensive backfield. I mean, I kind of...
I don't have to beat up Tiger Woods to know that Phil Mickelson made a fool of himself out there. That was a spoiled, bratty behavior. It's not... We always think that only certain athletes in football or basketball can be spoiled brats, can be Odell Beckham Jr. We just saw Phil Mickelson act just like Odell Beckham Jr., just like Randy Moss, the things we didn't like about him, and he needed to apologize rather than sit and lie and try to cover it up.
So his first real miscue. Odell Beckham's had 9. Moss had 6.
Some are bigger than others.
Well,
you know, it's like OJ. Well, you know, there was that night in Brentwood where I acted a fool. We just gonna let that one go?
No. I guess my point is, as a casual fan of which there's a lot more me than Steve Elkington's, I wouldn't have done it. I don't think he would have done it on the Sunday, back by 1 stroke on 17. It's a moment. If he wins the U.S. Open next year, this disappears into the ether.
That ain't happening, all right, because that was part of the problem. He thought this course was laid out for him. Spoiled loser. All right, to a guy who wasn't around on the weekend, Tiger Woods. Tiger had a lonely yacht ride back to Florida after shooting 10 over and missing the cut at Shinnecock Hills. But even that didn't dampen Tiger's optimism about his comeback.
Our whole careers are pretty much measured as if you can win, 4 times a year. 1 year I did it 3 times.
Still convinced you can do it again?
Absolutely.
Why?
You've seen the way I've been swinging?
All right, Cowherd, is Tiger in some denial?
Yeah, I think all pro athletes, as they're not in their peak, are in a little denial. But Brooks Koepka, bigger, stronger, more physically conditioned to play 4 days without the physical baggage, and emotionally down the stretch, really strong. That's who you got to beat. Dustin Johnson, bigger, stronger, healthier, generally has been mentally strong last 18 months. Listen, man, you got good guys now. And by the way, they're not the old golfers. Brooks Koepka looks like a linebacker. Dustin Johnson's an athlete. These are bigger, stronger versions of Tiger. And now Dustin did have the capability to melt down about 2 years ago. I think he's gone past that. I don't get that. I told you this on Thursday. I don't get 16-1 to win it. I don't get it.
Listen, I said last week, and I stand by it, Tiger's got a bit of a glass jaw. He's not built for adversity. He struggles. I was very disappointed Thursday and Friday. Although I expected Tiger to play poorly, I thought he would miss the cut. I'm going to take a beat and backtrack a little bit. The course was so difficult the first 3 days. We saw Rory McIlroy miss the cut. Jordan Spieth missed the cut. We saw Phil Mickelson melt down and make a fool of himself because of the course. Zach Johnson, as classy as they come, 2-time major champion, he takes a dump on the course. So I'm going to chalk up some of what we saw here to the course, the wind, pin placement. The course made fools of a lot of guys. It made a fool of Tiger Woods. That's why he's not ready. He's not going to read too much into what just happened. He's going to say it's the course, it was the wind, everybody had a bad weekend. I can still do this. Is he in a bit of denial? It requires delusion and denial to be great. It really does.
No, it does.
Be great. And so I'm going to stick with you, Tiger, even though I was embarrassed.
Did he take the yacht back?
I'm not.
Or were those rough seas going back down to Jupiter, Florida?
Hey guys, Jason McIntyre here. Before the show moves along, I wanted to tell you that support for the Speak for Yourself podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. They understand that home plays a big role in your life and family. That's why they created Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage gives you the confidence you need when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. It's simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. Whether you're looking to buy your first home or your 10th, with Rocket Mortgage you get a transparent online process that gives you the confidence to make an informed decision. It's convenient. Our trusted partners allow you to share your financial information with Rocket Mortgage at the touch of a button. And in addition to getting a real mortgage approval in minutes, you can even adjust the rate and length of your loan in real time to make sure you're getting the right solution for you. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/speak. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
Welcome back. back. We're now joined by Super Bowl champ Mark Schlereth, longtime NFL player and scout Bucky Brooks. Let's move to Baltimore, where people are getting all excited about Lamar Jackson after the Ravens revealed they've been experimenting with using their rookie quarterback at a variety of positions. Not everybody loves the idea. Bleacher Report arguing Jackson has become a sideshow, deserves a shot at the starting job, adding, quote, let's not pretend that Jackson's quarterback career will be helped if he catches a touchdown pass or runs a few options off the bench. It will just reinforce the perception that Flacco is one thing and Jackson is another, and that Flacco's thing is the one the NFL really covets. All right, Whitlock, is Lamar Jackson being set up to fail?
Yeah, by his woke supporters, by his social justice warrior supporters, not by the Baltimore Ravens. Although, again, I didn't think that was the right spot for him. But the Baltimore Ravens trying to get him on the field early, trying to use him in any way that he can help the team as early as possible, that's not setting him up for failure. That's actually setting him up for success. That's actually setting him up to showcase his abilities, get him on the field as early as possible, get his confidence going, get his teammates buying into him. What he's going to be killed by are all these people that want to turn anything that happens to him. If you read this full story, they got all the racial narratives going already. That's what's going to undermine his success if he becomes a polarizing racial issue rather than one of the 53 guys on the roster that can help him win.
I said when he got drafted there was a Tebow quality. I think he's better fit in the NFL than Tebow, but he'll be popular for non-football reasons. And Tebow became disruptive. That Tebow was good enough to play somewhere at the end. He'd won a playoff game 6 straight, and people were like, his faith-based audience, the press is outrageous, the media swarms to it. Now, I think Lamar's a better quarterback at the NFL level, but I think Tebow and Lamar have some similarities. There are questions. Lamar completed 59% of his throws with probably the best offensive coach in college football, Bobby Petrino, who could get a head job and be offensively better than half the league today. You may not like him as a guy, but in the end, this is what I absolutely expected, that Lamar would create a story without playing. And that's what Tebow did. You were in Denver. Yeah. Tebow was not playing, and the crowd was going crazy for a decent Denver team. So this is what I thought would happen.
The biggest issue to me is I think the Baltimore Ravens are doing the right thing. I think you have to see the forest through the trees. And when you come from a spread offense, Kyle Shanahan, when I did a San Francisco game, told me you can really only rate one thing coming out of a spread arm offense, and that's arm talent. He goes, that's it. I know that I played 3 years of college football. I came in as an offensive player, moved to defense, played 3 years on the defensive side. It made me a much better offensive player when I went back to the offensive side. So you can actually understand the game if you're playing multiple positions. This is not a Baltimore Raven issue. This is a union issue because our union does not have the balls to stand up in negotiation to the owners. So what do? We get scraps off of Longshank's table, right? At the very end, everybody needs money, and you're like, okay, well, we can't negotiate insurance, and we can't negotiate long-term contracts, and we can't negotiate anything else. So how about less practice time? So now for a young player, especially a young quarterback coming from a spread offense, how is that guy supposed to develop in this league? You can't. It's impossible. So what do you do if you're the Baltimore Ravens? Hey, let's teach them the offense in its totality. Let's let them play slot receiver. Let's let them play outside, maybe some running back, whatever it is, and you're going to get a better understanding of protection, of routes, route combinations, of defense, of secondary play. And now, as you transition as an older player, you're actually at least learning the game that you're not going to learn if you're sitting backing up Joe Flacco for the next 3 years.
I'm worried about this because I think when you draft Lamar Jackson in the first round, you have to draft him with the intent to keep the main thing the main thing. If you're drafting him to be the quarterback and you're saying he's going to be the franchise quarterback going forward, you need to give him every rep to be a quarterback.
Who said that?
Who said? Well, they took him in the first round. They have to take that. When you don't just throw away guys in the first round as experimental players, you don't project. You get them on the field as something other. You only get 5 to 6 reps. First-round picks are guys that should be starters. That's why they're drafted in the first round. He has to be drafted to be the franchise quarterback.
Last guy in the first round. There's been a lot of first-round quarterbacks that didn't turn out to be the franchise quarterback. The main thing is winning. That's always the main thing.
The main thing when you take a quarterback, the whole purpose of taking a quarterback in the first round to get the extra years, if you're taking him to be a quarterback with long-term potential to be a starting quarterback. The only way he's going to be a starting quarterback, you got to develop him to be that. So every rep that you put him somewhere else is one less rep that he gets at quarterback.
Bucky, I don't think the Baltimore Ravens are running the organization, hey, let's do what's best for Lamar Jackson. How can we win is their motivation.
But how are we sure that he's going to be so good at another position when he's never played another position? Well, we've never seen him play wide out. We've never seen him run the ball outside of being a quarterback. He's not physically built to be a running back. We don't know if he can catch passes as a wide receiver.
Question. I mean, why did they take him in the first round? I mean,
I think to get him on the field as quickly as possible and help him win. I think they look at his skill set and say, while we develop him as a quarterback, we can get other value out of him at some of these other positions. And I also think, again, we're avoiding what I thought was a brilliant point by Mark. This is a way to educate him about the entire offense when you have limited practice time.
But look at how many great players went in the second and third round. Like, couldn't you take somebody later? Aren't there players more valuable than a slot receiver for 9 snaps?
If he's going to be that. We did this with Seneca Wallace when I was in Seattle. We took Seneca Wallace in the second or third round, moved him around. He was punt returner, slot receiver, whatever. Eventually, he became a quarterback. But when you take a guy in the second or third round, you're not counting on those guys to be central figures of your team. If they do, great. But your first-round picks, your first-round guys have to be guys that are long-term parts of your program. And if you're taking Lamar Jackson as a quarterback, putting him at other spots, it only retards his development as a quarterback. Like, I like it for the flash, but I just don't know if you get there.
If you can't get him the reps, and that's like, I've just gone through a 2-year stint in Denver watching Paxton Lynch, who everybody and their brother's uncle said, listen, this is a guy that's a 2 or 3 year project. And they tried to give him that job, and he couldn't beat out a 7th rounder in Trevor Siemian out of Northwestern. I mean, he flat out does not have the skill set to do that at this point. So my point being, if you take him and you teach him the game in its totality, even if he's not getting all those reps, if he could do the scout team reps and he could do all the other things, but if he's not playing on Sunday, that's not going to help him either. I just think this helps him along the way, understanding just conceptually football coming from a spread offense into a pro-style offense.
We haven't said the same thing about Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is being celebrated as a guy that's going to be the Ferrari to drive the Kansas City Chiefs to the next level. They didn't put him as slot receiver. They didn't move him around. They let him be a quarterback for the same thing.
Right.
His skill set, look, this guy was a run-around, throw-it-all-over-the-place guy at Texas Tech.
He's not a 4-2, 4-3 guy. And look, just keep in mind, the Chiefs went up to go get Pat Mahomes. Lamar Jackson fell into someone's lap at the very bottom of the first round. Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, 2 totally different quarterbacks, and teams did 2 totally different things to get them.
I always argued that Josh Allen and Lamar were projects over prospects. I can't believe Josh Allen went in the first round. He's not even close yet. I can't believe Lamar Jackson went in the first round. To me, there were 3 first-round guys. Darnold, Rosen, and way late first round, maybe Baker. I think he got overdrafted. I think Lamar Jackson was overdrafted.
We're going to end on that note, Colin Kuiper. We appreciate that. We'll get to his big board when we come back. All right, welcome back. We're joined now by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard and the founder of The Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to the NBA, where speculation about LeBron James's future is dominating offseason headlines. And while a lot of discussion is focused on where LeBron can win the most titles before his career ends, at least one former ring chaser, Shaquille O'Neal, says he hopes LeBron doesn't follow in his footsteps, saying, quote, somebody told me a long time ago, they said, your book is already set before the later stages of your career. You can add index pages toward the end, but your book is already set. So LeBron's book is already set. He's done already passed up the legends. He done already made his mark. He has 3 rings. Cowherd, you agree with Shaq here?
No. His motto is what? Strive for greatness, not, whew, I reached the finish line. Do we ask billionaires, hey, you made enough, stop? That's not how Wall Street works. That's not how legends work.
Did Shaq ever say stop? Did I miss that?
Well, stay in Cleveland is stopping.
He didn't say stay in Cleveland. He didn't say that. He said don't be a ring chaser.
Well, what should he go to Orlando?
Willy-nilly anywhere just to get a ring. That's
so
what
he should
saying.
go to Orlando.
No, he should.
That's
not
bad
what he's
business.
saying. That's not what he's saying. He's saying don't be a ring chaser. I did it.
Well, if
make
LeBron,
a decision
Whitlock,
that's...
can you define ring chaser?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I need a definition.
Well, in Shaq's mind, it means going to Boston and Cleveland, and I think Phoenix at the end of his career, just I'm gonna be the final piece, blah, 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 to someone winning a title. And he ended up jumping to 3 different places where he didn't get a title.
He was an old man.
Yeah,
Shaq is completely wrong. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Here's what he's not taking into account. When he began chasing rings, he was done. He was done being a star. He was a role player averaging like 10, 12 points a game and hurt all the time. At that point in your career, rings don't matter anymore. If Shaq had won a ring with Boston, nobody would. It wouldn't have changed his legacy. When Gary Payton won his ring with Miami, he was old man. It didn't change his legacy at all. Jason Kidd was even a starter when Dallas won it in 2011. Didn't change his legacy. Legacies are changed by rings when you win them in your prime and you're the driving force. LeBron James is still in his prime. He's still the best player in the world. So for him, it would matter if he wins another ring or 2. It gets him closer to Jordan, whether you think he surpasses him, doesn't get there or not, it gets him closer. And if he doesn't win rings, it can impact his legacy as well, as long as he's still a top 5 or the best player in the world.
How can a guy who averaged 34, 9, and 9 in this postseason be chasing rings? I just don't understand. It makes no sense to me. And I think with
I can give you a way. I mean, if you went to Golden State, that would be rings.
Well, that would be. I think chasing rings is when you're not the driving force, or you're not the first or second guy. That's when you're chasing rings. Karl Malone and Gary Payton with the Lakers, they were chasing rings.
But this is different, and what I just keep coming back to this. Charles Barkley keeps saying LeBron should stay in Cleveland. Okay, Shaq is now saying just stay in Cleveland. Your book's done. These guys were in their 80s. They were in the 1980s and 90s. They were dominant, and they're trying to protect their era. They're trying to protect their guy Jordan, and I'm getting sick of it.
Wait,
Michael Jordan.
They're trying to protect Jordan.
Yeah, they are. You know they are.
Does he need protection?
Wait a sec.
Michael
Jordan went to the finals 6 times in 15 years.
And won every one of them.
LeBron has been to 9 finals in 15 years. I know he won 6-0. I get
the point is not to go. It's to win it.
There is a level where you get to the finals 9 in 15 years. That is who's done that?
Well, Tom Brady surpassed Montana.
Jerry West did it.
Well, no, but Joe Montana for my entire broadcaster career was better than Brady. But when Brady got to his 8th Super Bowl, it's a volume.
But he's 5 and 3.
I thought it was the 5th Super Bowl win.
Exactly.
Well, but again, but he keeps. I mean, if LeBron goes to let's get back to this, ring chasing. So. Where is LeBron supposed to go that wouldn't be a great team? You could put him on Brooklyn tomorrow. They'd win the East. Everywhere he goes, they're going to be great.
And to me, all Shaq is saying is, don't let the ring be the only decision, the only factor in your decision. Don't let that cloud your just. I don't think he's saying it's not a big factor.
Shaq's saying that,
I think he's saying don't let that be the only thing, because I think he's smart enough to know he's at a different place than where Shaq was at a different place than where LeBron is. LeBron's still in his prime, should have been the MVP this season. I think I could put together an argument, though, where I agree with Shaq that even an additional ring or 2 isn't going to move him closer to Jordan.
If he knocks off the Golden State Warriors in the West, possibly the best dynasty ever,
think about
he does that. I'm putting him over Jordan.
I think his book is already. Well, I'm sorry. We didn't show. Jason McIntyre has a number one.
Not a lot of people care about your book.
So you're telling me the Golden State Warriors, possibly the best dynasty ever, on par with the Bulls. If LeBron takes them down, it's just another ring?
No, I agree. I think it would get him closer. I'm not saying it put him over him, but it would get him closer.
Right now, it's 70-30. You're telling me he wins back-to-back titles in L.A., it doesn't move 20% of the fans?
Here's what Shaq is saying, and I think it's accurate. You can't catch Jordan. It's over.
I don't agree with that.
Hold on. You're assuming Shaq. Now, maybe Shaq does feel this way. Yeah. That Shaq feels like LeBron's number 2.
Yeah.
Because maybe he doesn't. A lot of players think Kobe is right there or above LeBron, you know.
I think he thinks he can't catch Jordan, and I agree with him. I think this last finals deal, and I know J.R. Smith screwed it up, but the way LeBron went out, and particularly with the support, the cast on his hands, and the way he quit in that game, it's over for a lot of guys. You're not catching Jordan.
All right, to Kawhi Leonard, who's made it clear he wants the Spurs to trade him, but might have a harder time getting out of San Antonio than he thought. Reportedly, both teams in his preferred destination of Los Angeles are concerned about Kawhi's health, which isn't surprising considering he's never even played a full NBA season. Whitlock, was it a mistake for Kawhi to go to the media with his trade demands?
I think without question. I think he undermined his trade value, which makes it even harder for him to get what he wants. He wants to go to the Lakers. Well, how do you get to the Lakers? They have to make a trade offer to the San Antonio Spurs that makes it worthwhile for Greg Popovich. Well, when the Lakers are sitting there where the guy wants out, and everybody knows he's never played 82 games. He only played 9 games this past year. His trade value, just because of his health, was already a bit of a question mark. And now that you've let everybody know that you want out of there, his trade value goes down even more. He's put the Spurs in a position where they can't, it's going to be a lot harder to trade him than if he had just kept this between he and the Spurs.
No way. Exact opposite is true. This is a business 101 decision. Essentially, the Spurs are screwed. I want to go to the Lakers. Well, we're going to trade you. Oh, you can't, because it's career suicide for a GM to give up anything for a rental player. Kawhi just said, no, I didn't like how you called me out. I'm going. This is what Kyrie Irving should have done. Now, Kyrie got lucky because he got traded to a great coach. Yeah. If I go, no, I'm going here and only here, you're done. I own you. Where can you trade me? I'm going to trade you to what general manager?
They don't have to trade him.
Well, okay, I'll wait a year. So what?
But in the end, there's no so what.
By the way, you're going to get nothing for him? Or the Lakers go, all right, he's only coming here. We'll give you Kyle Kuzma. They liked him.
I agree with you in that I don't think Kawhi made a mistake at all. Because, look, he's good enough. Every team in the league would love to have him. If he went privately to the Spurs and said, hey, this is not working out, when you trade me to the Lakers, it wouldn't have changed their minds that they don't have any desire whatsoever to send him to the Lakers. Now, where I disagree with you is that they do have a little leverage. Kawhi's got a lot, but they have some too. Like you said, they don't have to trade him at the very least until February, the trade deadline in February. Now, they can say, look, let's try to spend those next few months making things better.
You can
they
try
can go that right. Or if they do that, here's what happens. The Lakers go out this summer, they sign LeBron and Paul George, and guess what? Eat up all their cap room. So then they couldn't sign Kawhi as a free agent. So then he would lose some of his leverage as far as saying, that's the only place I'm going.
Aaron Rodgers, best football player in the world, is trapped in Green Bay. We have seen now multiple stars, LeBron twice, KD, Jimmy Butler, Kyrie Irving. They've all done this way. I want out. I want to go mostly here. The difference is Kawhi said, I want to go specific.
Well, that's the thing. Is it Lakers or bust for him, or is it, yeah, the Lakers is my number one choice, but
Clippers.
Boston would be good, Philly would be good.
He's
the
about,
Clippers,
by the way,
I would settle for.
We've seen 9 guys do this in the NBA. I mean, good players. Paul George, they all got out. Yeah. These teams eventually don't want him in the building.
The one thing I think you're missing, Whitlock, is what does Kawhi Leonard owe the Spurs at this point? He spent 7 years there. He was a good soldier, okay? And here, this past season, he's got an injury, and his coach takes a shot at him in the media, his point guard, guys he's been in the trenches with for years, and Manu Ginobili as well. I just don't understand what Kawhi Leonard owes the Spurs at this point.
Well, I would have to argue that he owes them something, which I have not done. And so my point was, I think he's hurt the ability for them to move him on as easily. If he had gone to them privately, put his foot down, I think it would have been better to move him perhaps where he wants to go to the Los Angeles Lakers. I think he's made it more difficult. I don't think he owes the Spurs anything, and I haven't argued that.
Now, 2 months ago, the story broke, Spurs wouldn't trade him west. So how do we know that Kawhi said, all right, they're not going to trade me west. I want to go west. The only way I can end up west is announcing, I'll only go to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Because 2 months ago, the story broke. Popovich is like, he ain't ended up there.
Yeah.
And I think Kawhi and his uncle said, well, that's where we want to go. We got to control this situation. I got to tell you, I think he fits in a lot of places, like you said, but who in their right mind can make a deal for Kawhi now?
And what I would say, though, given his health history, I think it's high risk.
Do you think it's
the
high
guy's
risk?
never played 82. He just played 9. He just got into a year-long dispute with what has been seen as the best organization in the NBA.
So you really don't, you think he's...
No, I don't think it. I'm saying if I'm the Lakers or any other franchise, I'm like, well, damn. He's never played 82. He just missed 72 games or 73 games this year. And I'm supposed to trade for this guy and then give him a max deal eventually?
His argument.
There's a little. I could see. I mean, I don't think it's high risk, but yeah, you have to take those things into consideration. But you had to do it with Kyrie Irving too.
And he's had.
You know, he was the same. He was even worse. He was even more injury prone.
And how did that work for Boston?
Yeah, but
that would be my other.
Well, I mean, let's see how this plays out. You're right.
Your argument's good in theory, but I just personally don't see Kawhi as a health risk. I see Michael Jordan missed a year. John Stockton missed a year. I see a healthy athlete who had a bad injury.
And had a dispute with his organization all year about that injury.
That feels
they
like
think he's healthy. He says he's not. They say it's in his head. That was never the issue with Michael Jordan.
I just think that's a separate issue than he's injury prone. I think that issue is separate, and you have to deal with that in its own terms. All right, welcome back. Mark Schlereth, Bucky Brooks here. Let's move to Tom Brady, who just sat down for a heartwarming interview with the Oprah Winfrey, where he opened up about everything from his marriage to the national anthem to his relationship with Bill Belichick. Oprah did not shy away from the question that's been on everybody's mind this offseason.
Is there something going on with you and Belichick?
No, I mean, I love him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love that he's an incredible, coach, mentor for me. And he's pushed me in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And like everything, we don't agree on absolutely everything,
yeah.
but that's relationships.
All right, Whitlock, you buying that?
I am buying that Tom Brady loves Bill Belichick. I just don't think the love is unconditional anymore. And I think the level of trust they had has been diminished by the Malcolm Butler decision and the way Belichick has handled that. But I think Tom's analogy is absolutely right. It's like any other relationship. Over the course of time, relationships, sometimes you're madly in love, sometimes you're madly in like, sometimes you can't stand each other. But overall, I think the trend line for those guys had been this way. Now it's a little bit this way, and we'll see if it can recover.
I think he respects Belichick. I think love's pretty irrelevant in sports. I think respect is really, really relevant. John Elway had troubles with all his coaches. But when he didn't respect you, you were no longer the coach of the Denver Broncos. I think love's way overstated. You're talking alpha males. I don't need you to love me, but when I walk into the locker room, do I feel you're a better coach, I'll get a better assignment than that coach will give that quarterback?
I want to speak up for love a little bit here. When you've won 5 Super Bowls together, when you've been a 6th, 7th round draft pick and turned into the greatest football player of all time, and you have a life that you could never imagine, I wouldn't blame him for loving Bill Belichick because he played a big role in all that success.
It's interesting, you look at coaches, and there is a love-hate relationship that goes on with this game, with the coaches, with some of the players that you end up playing with. My offensive line coach in Denver, the best offensive line coach that I've ever played for, Alex Gibbs. There's 2 types of players that played for Alex Gibbs. He's the best coach I've ever played for in my entire life. He is the worst coach I've ever played for in my entire life. There is no in between. You can either handle him or you can't handle him. And that's the way it went. He was the best coach I ever played for. I hated his guts at times. Like we got in rip-roaring arguments at times, but I absolutely love that man. And I would lay down in front of traffic for him. And that's the way I played the game, and that's the way he demanded that you play the game. But I knew he was making the same type of sacrifices, not going on the football field, but those same type of sacrifices that we have to make as players. And I respected the heck out of him. And so I think there is some truth to this. I love the guy. We're having a spat, a little quarrel, but I still love the guy, and I believe that he's the best coach that's ever coached in this league.
Yeah, I think Colin hit the nail on the head. I think there's a level of respect there between them, and that's all you really need in team sports. Can the coach put us in a position to win games? Can he put me in the best position to maximize my talent? Can he push me enough that I can do things that maybe I couldn't see myself doing? I do believe there's some fatigue from Tom Brady in terms of the grind that is part of the New England Patriots culture. The always on, you never satisfied with what you're doing. I think he would like a kinder, gentler coach at some points. But at the end of the day, they've won a lot of games. They will continue to win a lot of games, and it's because Bill Belichick does a great job of managing the guys on his team and putting them in the best position to win each and every week.
You know, there's stories, my sister and I have talked about this with our late father. You know, he finally told her he loved her on his deathbed, and everybody in the room cries. She loved him, but he was incapable until the very end of saying that. And those are great memories. Belichick may not be capable of showing love while you're in the tunnel of competition. But when it ends, then it's the, hey, I love you, man. It's very possible that Belichick's belief system and just the way his DNA operates, he can't tell you he loves you during his childhood. Those playing years are childhood years. And I think we have to realize all relationships as player to coach with Bill, they all sort of end this way. They're all bumpy at the end.
I would agree, and I think you've hit on something in terms of the father-son relationship, and I think there's some of that with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. But eventually, when you become 40 years old and you're married to Giselle and you have this positive attitude approach to life that he's taken on, the TB12 approach, Tom Brady's going to need a little bit more love in these last couple of years from Bill Belichick, or it's going to be real rocky. All right, welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to a wild weekend at the World Cup where Messi missed another huge penalty kick in international play, leaving Argentina in a disappointing draw with Iceland. Meanwhile, Mexico shocked the world by upsetting defending champs Germany. Cowherd, what's the bigger story here?
Oh, I think Mexico's upset of the #1 team in the world. First of all, Messi's miss is LeBron missing a dunk. It's 1 second. Mexico beating Germany is 2 hours of what in the world is going on. Germany is a machine, outplayed them for the last 30 minutes of action, and Mexico comes away the winner. Shocking result.
I agree with you. Shocking. Almost as shocking as Landon Donovan saying he's rooting for Mexico. We'll get into that tomorrow. All right, to the U.S. Open, where reportedly Dustin Johnson's fiancée, Paulina Gretzky, and her friends started celebrating after DJ's birdie on 18th, thinking he had won the tournament, even though he was still 3 shots back at that point. Cowherd, what's the bigger blunder here? This or Johnson's 7-over on Saturday?
I've gone to golf tournaments. If you're not standing in front of a leaderboard, it's confusing. I've been there at a golf tournament. I have no idea who's leading, who's second, who's third.
I like this because I don't like dating people that think they know sports. I don't want to talk about sports away from here. And so I kind of like this, that they don't even know what the hell's going on at the golf tournament he's playing in. I kind of respect it.
My wife
Good
has
call.
no idea I'm even on this show. No idea. See you tomorrow.